If you wanted to collect some kind of user input from their name to emails and choices, the perfect way to do this in HTML is to create something known as a form. This is what we'll be discussing today, HTML forms and how you use them in your own website. This will be a bit longer than the other videos as I will explain each tag as we use it to create our own form. To start off, we need to use the form tag when there's a form we want to create. If we're going between these two tags and we start off with the input tag, you can see that this is a self-enclosing tag. It doesn't need another one like this one does over here. So we use the type attribute to assign what type of input this would be. As you can see, there is a lot of options when it comes to creating forms and what kind of input you want from the user. I will only go through a few of them here, and the resource to read up on the rest will be linked in the description below. So let's look around here, just for some that I will be discussing in this video. So the text value displays an input field. This could be someone's name, surname, or anything else. If you go up top here, there's a radio one. The radio value gives you set options which you can only choose one of. And if you go a bit more, there's the checkbox one. The checkbox value is a bit similar to the radio one, but this one allows you to have multiple options from a set of options. And lastly, if you go down again, there should be the submit value. The submit value tells the form that this is the button that will be used to submit the form. I will only use the ones I just covered for the forms of today. To start off, let's create two inputs for a user's name and last name. But before we use the inputs, we need some sort of label for them, as we don't just want a box sitting there. So we'll take this away and use the label tag. The for attribute just simply means we need to give the name of what input this is for. We can just give it the value of name, and in between here we can give it the name value name as well. Now that we've done that, we can move on to the first input, and this input will have the type of text, and we'll give it another attribute known as ID. This value right here should be equal to the for attribute and the above label to bind them together. The last attribute we will give this input is the one that is called name. This is used to reference data once the form has been submitted. After that, we will do the same thing for the user's last name, assigning a label and an input. So we're just going to take that, we're going to copy it, and we're going to paste it right here. The thing that we need to change now is just here, we just say last name. And then over here with the ID as well, we can say last name, and for the name as well. When you're done, you can Control S and you should see it pop up on your document right over here. If you instead wanted the input boxes to be under the labels over here, you can use a tag known as break tag. It is just BR, it's a self-enclosing tag, and this should create a space and put them in the next line for you. And now it looks like this. A thing to take note in this form is this label tag. It is good practice for accessibility reasons. It is useful for users who use screen readers. The screen reader will read the label out loud when the user focuses on an element. The blue outline around this input box is what I mean by when it's focused. Now we will move on to radio buttons, which allows us to make one choice from the presented options. We will start off with the P tag and write something like, what is your favorite ice cream? And now we use another input over here, and instead of the type of text, this time we're going to use one that says radio, and the ID will be chocolate, but the name for it will be a bit different. Here we're going to write favorite ice cream, and then the value of it should be chocolate as well. And before I continue, I want to explain what exactly we're doing here. We've given the input type of radio, which will give us a circle for us to click on. The ID is used to bind the input and the label we're about to give it, and the name right here is used for reference in other programming languages and once the form is submitted. And the last one, the value here will not be shown to the user, but instead is a value that will be sent to a server once the form is submitted to identify which radio button was selected. Hopefully that all makes sense and why we use these attributes. We'll then create a label for it under here. And remember, the for needs to be the same as the ID, so chocolate. And over here, we'll write chocolate so the user can actually see this. We will just copy and paste this for the other ice cream flavor. And then we'll use break tags in order for it to fall into the next line. So BR and then tab. And then over here, the ID will change to vanilla. And this will stay the same. And same here, the value will change to vanilla as well. And these two will also change to vanilla. and then the last one is for the user to see. Now if we Control S and save that, you can see the two values that we've given over here. So you can pick one of the two. Now onto the third option. Checkboxes work in a very similar way. The only difference is that we can choose multiple options instead of one, as we've seen over here. So we'll create another input type over here, and instead of the text type, we'll use checkbox. And this time we'll be talking about what system we are using. Since people use more than one system, this would be a perfect example. The ID over here will just be system1. The name will be the same as system1 over here, so I'm just going to copy that, and then we just write name and then save that. But the value will be different, and this will be PC for our first system. So right under here, we'll create a label for it, and the 4 should be the same as the ID, so system1. And then here, we're going to give it the name PC so the user can actually see what they're choosing. So I'm just going to copy this over, and then I'm going to paste it over here. And then the ID should be system2, since it's our second system. And instead of a PC over here, we're going to use a mobile device. And then change this as well to system2. And then mobile device so that our user can actually see this. And then there we should have it. But now we're just going to create 2 break tags just so that this can be separate from that. And then if we go into the labels as well, we need to create another break tag over here, so this will go underneath here. If we Control S that, you should see now checkboxes instead. And we got the PC system 1 and mobile device system 2, and we can click both of them if you wanted to choose both of them. Lastly, I would like to cover the one thing that will actually send in your form data to a server. This is the input tag, but the only difference is that the type value will be submit, and the value as well will be submit. This time the user will actually see this word, and if you Control S that, you should see the button over here. If you wanted to put in the next line, you can just use the BR tag. If you save that, it should put in the next line, but if you want to create a space between those two, you do the same thing. And there we go. Now we've got a submit button. Now even when we do click this button, the form will restart itself, but it doesn't send anything anywhere actually. In fact, it's going nowhere. And this is where this action attribute comes into play. This is where the data will be sent if there is a server you have to process the data. Typically, you use something like PHP, which is a post-processing language used in quite a few websites. You can get pretty creative with your forms and what type of data you want from your users, but I think that should cover about what you need to get started with HTML forms. And as always, resources will be linked below if you need to read more about it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.